I would typically prepare some kind of fully fleshed out lesson/lecture to present for a video like this. But today I'm going to take a different approach. Rather than just talking to you or sharing my ideas with you, I want your experience to be a part of this video. I need your input. Maybe about a month ago, I did a video as a part of my ranking series where I ranked all the fragrances I currently own from the house of Cartier. I've done this with almost 10 well-known brands, and it's become this accidental and fascinating experiment on an inevitable element of marketing communities: brand bias. The brands I've covered in the series so far include Tom Ford, Amouage, Nichane, Hermès, Cartier, Dior, Xerjoff, Creed, and Guerlain. Based on the views, Cartier and Hermès were easily the least viewed videos out of all the others in the series, while the Creed and Xerjoff videos have a more than healthy amount of engagement. On the surface, many may look at this disparity and not think twice about it. They might just say, well, of course, more people are interested in Creed and Xerjoff than they are in Hermès and Cartier. But as a creator, my first response is to look at the results critically and ask, why? Brands like Cartier and Hermès are not even remotely unknown. So why would they garner such low comparative interest in the YouTube space? There are plausible answers to this question, both subjective and objective. Here's a few of them. Because more consumers/influencers talk about Creed and Xerjoff. Because Creed and Xerjoff have more widely appealing fragrances. Because Creed and Xerjoff fragrances are a better value proposition. However, we could continue to pose the simple question, why, against all of these responses. Why would more people talk about Creed and Xerjoff than they do Hermès and Cartier? Why might people find Creed's and Xerjoff's fragrances generally more appealing? Why might Creed and Xerjoff fragrances offer a better value to most consumers? As you could imagine, this type of questioning could continue limitlessly. So instead of pounding my head against the wall, trying to figure it out all by myself, I'd like to obtain the data from the source, which is you guys, the trusty and faithful audience. I have 4 questions for you, and I would love your take on one or more of them down in the comments. Here are the questions. Number 1, even if you are well familiar with the name of a brand, do you still avoid it if few to no people online are recommending their fragrances? Number 2, based on what you've seen and heard, what makes you more likely to try a brand like Xerjoff over one like Cartier? Number 3, if you saw a greater amount of attention on YouTube for lesser discussed brands like Hermès and Cartier, do you believe you might be more apt to try them? And number 4, this one's a little hefty. The relationship between creators and viewers is ideally symbiotic. We are producing content about subjects you want to see, and you are watching it, offering critical feedback and contributing to the growth of our platforms. This leaves us with a bit of a chicken or the egg dilemma. Does fragrance popularity come as a result of a reviewer creating hype for something undiscovered, or does the audience determine their overall interest in certain brands/fragrances, ultimately dictating what the creator should make content about? Or perhaps it's both of these. Now, some of you will say that you don't actually take the recommendations of reviewers like me too seriously. You influence your own path. Honestly, I believe this is healthy. If this is the case, here's your question. What do you think it would take for you to try these well-known and lesser discussed fragrance brands? And don't worry, all these questions will be down in the description or pinned in a comment, whatever I remember to do, so you don't have to remember all this stuff. So that's pretty much all I had to say. I want to know what you think. I want to know your observations, your experience on this issue of brand bias. It's such an interesting thing, and I've always kind of thought about it superficially, but it wasn't until I started doing this series showcasing these brands one at a time and seeing their respective interests that I started to scratch my head and try to figure out what's going on. So let me know what's going on. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.